All right. Good morning and welcome to Your Pathway Home. It is Matthew Allen with Jason Schofield, Hunter Davis, and special guest Keith Stonehart. Thank you for joining us this morning. Guys, how are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and this has been a great weekend here at Cornerstone. A lot of activity and stuff. How about you, man?
Well, I felt like I was at home. I pulled into town last night just in time for the tornado warning. Feels like Alabama to me, so it's good to be here.
We got two Alabamans this morning.
Yeah, you guys are going to get the Alabama white sauce today. If you don't know about that,
I know a little bit about it.
oh man,
I don't know why y'all call that sauce barbecue sauce.
It is the best.
It is an Alabama thing.
It is.
I don't disagree with Keith on that one. I'm not a fan of the white sauce.
Oh man, I could eat it on.
And you grew up there.
I did.
I can eat Alabama white sauce on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It is that good.
Well, as long as you people don't put corn in your salsa, I can deal with it.
Corn doesn't belong in salsa.
It don't
Mango
belong.
does though.
It does not.
Yeah.
Mango, I can live
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Well, we're glad y'all joined us today to be here with us on Your Pathway Home. We are looking forward to a great day together here with the Christians that meet in this place. We're going to be here at about 9:30 this morning for our Bible classes and 10:30 for worship. And Brother Stonehart is going to be here with us through Tuesday night. He's speaking at both services today in the morning Bible class time. So all the adults are going to be together in the auditorium this morning as we study together, and then he'll be preaching for us later this morning. And then, of course, we had invited him up to be here Tuesday night for our summer series. And when we can get Brother Stonehart in town, we do, and we use him when he's here because we just
I love
him.
it. I thank you for having me. I appreciate the always the invite to come and to be with y'all and to encourage the brethren here.
Yeah, we are so blessed to have you here today. And guys, we have had a spectacular year here at Cornerstone. I believe the Lord is at work in this place, and there's just so many positives to be talking about. And listen, we're not bragging here. What we're doing is glorifying the Lord for His work, and we are simply His tools that He is using and employing to reach people here locally. And this week, we've had 3 baptisms here in this place, all from the result of personal invitation. People just going out, meeting people, inviting them to church. And those people decided to come. They've sat in some Bible studies, and the word has been preached and taught, and then those individuals made that decision that they were going to come to Jesus Christ. We had 2 baptisms last Sunday after our service, and then Hunter, you were able to baptize someone into Christ on Thursday morning after a Bible study. And so I think there's been 12 baptisms for us already this year. We are rejoicing in the work of the Lord. And again, we give Him all the glory and all the credit. It's the power of His Word, and we simply just teach and let people respond to that. And it's a blessing, guys.
Awesome. God is good.
You know, reaching souls is still a challenge. You have the power of the gospel, but if you think even in the infancy of the Lord's church, it was met with opposition. And I guess that's, one of the things that it's important for us to discuss is, what can we do to help people learn about the gospel and help our young people or our young Christians, babes in Christ, not young people, get where they need to be in their relationship with God. So where do you start? What have you found? And you all both are pretty rooted in your evangelistic efforts, and so I'd like to hear some of that.
Well, I know that for me, I was an outsider. I came into the church at 28, so I what we sometimes consider the best age of approaching people when they're in their teens and whatnot, and trying to get into their lives with the truth before habits and that sort of thing sets in. I was kind of past that, and so I was already kind of set in some habits, and part of that was approach. I think one thing that we have to remember is that kids are naturally curious. Whether they're younger kids like 6 to 10 years old, but especially teenagers. And the teenager's curiosity is often muffled with insecurities. And so they won't ask questions. They'll sit there and they'll listen, but they won't ask questions. Well, I noticed that what happened with me by the time I was 28, I had a lot of questions because I had not asked questions earlier. Because I think there's a thing when you're a teenager that you maybe feel silly asking questions, that you won't look like you know anything, or you're afraid of appearing, unsmart by others, or whatever the reasons are. And so you sit there in silence and don't say anything. And so I think we have to remember that they want to know. That there's a desire to know, but they're often afraid to approach those questions. And so when we're dealing with young or new Christians, remember that curiosity is there. It's our job to spark it. It's our job to sort of poke that and point them in the direction of the truth, so that they'll ask questions. But we also need to make them feel comfortable, like they can ask the questions. One of the things that I've always used in my approach was sort of a non-intimidating presence. And what I mean is that especially for someone who's come from a worldly background, I know that when I became a Christian, I remember the first night going to the Mountain View Church of Christ in Cumming, Georgia, and sitting in that parking lot, terrified to go in, because of what I perceived was going to be judgment. That I was going to go in and these people in there, they were going to judge me because of the way that I looked and my background and all these things. And so the very thing that I'm terrified of is judgment. I'm sitting there I'm judging everyone in that room before I go in. And so the thing that made me at ease was the way that I was approached. When I walked in that room apprehensive, and they took that away from me. Everyone that approached me with kindness and genuine, sort of a genuine welcoming spirit. They didn't care where I was from.
There was a connection there that
so we had some family there.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people didn't even know that right away, and it's like they didn't care that my hair was the way that it was then. They didn't care about the earrings or the tattoos, or they didn't, none of that. All they cared about was that I was there, and they wanted to know, was I coming back, and so I felt welcomed, and I felt I hate to use this word because I know it gets used a lot, but seen. I felt seen. Yeah. That they didn't see all this; they saw this, and it made it very easy to open up and ask the questions. And so I think knowing that there's a general curiosity that people come in with, it's our job to disarm the apprehension and to cultivate that curiosity, to get them to ask the questions.
I want to go back and just focus for a sec on what you said about sitting out there in your truck, mustering up the courage to actually walk through that door. And I think that's so common for so many people. And we, as people that are used to going to church and walking through that door every Sunday, and we know everybody, and we're comfortable, we know where we're going to sit, we know all the stuff, but for someone that doesn't, the amount of courage that it takes to walk through that, and that is why in the first 5 minutes that someone walks through that door, our job as members of the local church is to disarm those fears, to receive them with open arms. And look, a lot of people, there are some people that they're not going to like some of the warmth. They're going to be taken back by that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got to be, our job is to take that fear out and say, hey, you are welcome here. How can we serve you? And really try to take that away, because in the first 5 minutes, the impression is made.
Absolutely. And I think too, most people are coming from some sort of conflict, or some sort of whether it's confusion or maybe a life-changing event. I know that whenever the thing that brought Kelly and I to church was that our marriage was about to be over, right? My whole family at the time was Kelly and our 2-year-old then daughter, who's 27 now. But and so there was a fear there of losing everything, and I was looking for a soft place to land, and that's what they provided. And I think another thing that sometimes we, 25 years this side of it, we have our own language in the church. We have phrases and words that we use that a lot of the world aren't familiar with, and sometimes that can make people uncomfortable. And there's nothing wrong with praying prayers, using phrases that we've heard before.
God guard direct.
God guard directs to the next point of time, but be thy will. Be with the speaker of the hour. He may have a ready recollection of his.
Yeah.
All these things that we say because we've heard them, and there's alliteration, and they sound good. But at the end of the day, that person doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I've always sort of wanted to frame my approach into talking to that person. Because if I can speak to that person and he understands, well, then everyone else will understand me too. And it's kind of like preaching. My preaching style too is I want to preach to the 12-year-olds in the room. Because if the 12-year-olds can understand what I'm saying, then everyone else will get it too. I don't want to make it too heady and theological. There's a time and place for that stuff. In Bible studies, you can really dig into the Word and go deep with history and theology and doctrine. But for preaching, if you can get people through the doors to come hear a lesson, well, then give them something they can understand.
They can, and that means something to them.
It does.
It touches them. Right?
Now, you want to get into the deeper things, get them across the table, right? And begin your study and start looking into those deeper subjects, because that's really where the magic happens, is that one-on-one.
Well, Keith, I wrote down as you were talking that, kind of a non-threatening atmosphere. And that can welcome them in. That's your worm on the hook.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to fishing than just getting him on the hook, because you got to get him in the boat. And so, an atmosphere that not only, is non-threatening for their presence, at the beginning, but something that also allows for learning, allows for mistakes, allows yet accountability. But it's interesting how, with new Christians, sometimes I've seen in the past, and with all noble intent, but somebody sit down with a new Christian and kind of say, we talk like this,
Yeah.
We go to church now.
Yeah.
When you're a Christian, you got to now give. We dress like this. We stop doing these things. So we lay out the rules. And really, fostering a relationship with God is the key here. And all that other stuff comes to play. And so I think it's about, Paul showed him what the changed life was really about. Mm-hmm. They seen where he was. It's so getting them to do that. It is about showing them the blessings of having a relationship with God. And I think a lot of, like you were touching on, is relationship. And so the togetherness that we share as brothers and sisters in Christ, that value. And that, I don't have to ever have a conversation of, you probably should, not wear these clothes or something like that, because you want a relationship with me and God. And that's
right. Well, it's funny. I saw a couple of years ago, I presented a lesson about modesty, and it got me in a lot of trouble, because the imagine that. The perception was that somehow I was anti-modesty, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Modesty is a fundamental doctrine within Christianity as a whole, about presenting yourselves as you are, not in a way to attract or draw people for the wrong reasons, and not to incite lust or anything like that. And so I fully believe I'm Orthodox. I fully believe in the doctrine of modesty. But the lesson was framed with the problem that we have is not teaching people about modesty, but how we teach them. A lot of times, the first conversations that are ever had with somebody is about how they're dressed.
Yeah.
That's the wrong time, right? That is the wrong. Listen, you have to introduce them to first a spirit, and what I mean is an attitude, an atmosphere of and what you do is by time and influence, you help mold and shape those things. If a and we always seem to pick on young girls with this too, which is another problem that I have. I think if you're a man in the pulpit and you're preaching on modesty, but all your goal audience is teenage girls, I don't really think that makes you a herald of truth. I think it makes you a bully.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. So don't come at me, but and they will. But what I think is that there's much more to be said about influence. And so you're exactly right. I think that if the first thing that I say to a teenage girl that comes in and she's wearing something a little immodest is not you need to go change your clothes. It's going to be, how are you? What's your name? Have you got plans for lunch? My family would love to take you to lunch.
Yeah.
And you build a relationship, and then over time, what they're going to see in you and your wife and maybe your family is a modest approach to all things. They're going to see modesty in the way that you present, the way that you dress, the way that you talk. And so you have an opportunity to be an influence, but then also once you build a relationship, then maybe you can say, hey, I want to talk to you about something, but that's done because you've built trust into a relationship as opposed to coming out the gate swinging.
They have to understand the why.
Yeah.
And I think the why, the reasoning comes through a relationship. Because you mentioned a moment ago about how sometimes the first thing we want to do is just, all right, here's the rules. Here's what you have to do, and here's what you no longer do.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. And
Yeah.
and suddenly we've built this. I think we need to remember that new Christians come in totally intimidated anyway, especially today. 99% of the new Christians that I work with have almost zero Bible knowledge. They don't know Genesis from Titus.
I was there.
Or Ecclesiastes
I was
to
that
Revelation. Guy. Okay, so it's totally intimidating when you walk through the door. It's totally intimidating when you're baptized, and then I sat down with a young Christian yesterday, and he says, "I have so much to learn, and I don't even know where to start." And you could just feel that, and he wants to know it, and he wants to know it all now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kept saying, look, it's going to take time. It's
Yeah.
going to take time. But if they initially have all this pressure and intimidation on their side, and then we come down with the hammer on the other side.
Yeah. And by the way, you got to look like this now.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
I'll
it's
tell
too
you
much.
this quick story. So 25 years ago, I was living out west, and we had converted a person, a Native American, off the reservation. And he was a Lakota and had that beautiful, long, flowing hair well down past his shoulders, like a lot of them grow. And we had no more and got him up out of the water, and somebody came up to me and says, well, we got to get him to cut his hair now.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa, okay, no, not yet, no, but that happens, okay.
Well, yeah. So when I became a Christian, I was still in a rock band, right? So I still looked like I was in a rock band. I didn't quit my band until 3 months after becoming a Christian, and so there was a time where there's a lot of overlap, and I still had earrings in my ears. I still had, I didn't wear the nose ring anymore, but I still had the hole in my nose. Got tattoos. I still had crazy hair. And I remember after a couple of months of working with Brownlee Reeves, he was the man that taught Kelly and I, and studying and asking questions and getting answers, he brought it up one evening. He goes, by the way, I want to ask you something about your earrings. I said, yeah, what's that? He goes, what's the deal with that? Because I'd quit the band, so I was no longer in the band. I'd become a Christian, and I was learning. And he goes, where did that start? I said, well, it was really just kind of, I was angry at my dad. My dad hated all this, and so I did it almost to prove something to him. And this, he goes, are you still mad at your dad? And I said, well, no, I guess not. He goes, are you still trying to prove something to him, or have you kind of moved on? I said, well, I guess I moved on. He said, okay. And that's all he said. He didn't say, well, you should probably stop that. He didn't say, well, you need to change that, or people are uncomfortable with it. He asked me to question why I was still doing it. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, I guess I don't really have a reason to do this anymore. Earrings came out. Now, I still have a weird haircut. I'm always going to have a weird hair. It's going to be a mohawk till I die. But that's just something that I do. It's just me.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when if we start relegating people to hairstyle or whatever, we're not really seeing the value of that person that's in their soul. We're seeing the things that make us uncomfortable, and so that's really a us issue and not a them issue.
I mean, I'm really excited about what you're saying, and I want to hear something from Hunter here. But I was thinking about a young man that a few years, well, I say a few, it's probably been a decade ago, that had very tall. I do not know what kind of hair product they use. You used,
Yeah,
but very tall and colorful spikes. Became a Christian, raised with a solid family. And this kid was so nice. And every time I go into town, he still will come and speak to me. But he basically quit going to church. And almost every person who would mention him always said, well, they had a conversation about his hair when he was going to change his hair. And I really think that eventually it wears on you. And I have to say how many times, I'm a fat guy. So I got to say how many times, in 1 week that somebody talks to me about exercise, weight, diet, and everything else. I'm a fat guy. And you know what? There's nobody that knows more about what I need to do to get where I want to be, than I do. But I got to tell you, that doesn't help. It doesn't help.
So my friend Jason from over in Brownsburg wrote in. He says, "Are you insinuating that long hair and earrings are something that Christians shouldn't wear?" And let's talk about that for a minute. Kind of answer that. I would say this. I think within reason, a lot of it lies in judgment. Your personal judgment. I'm certainly not one to make a bunch of rules and say, yes, you have to cut your hair. Yes, you have to rip those earrings out. I think now I can tell you when I was a boy, now I lived under my mom and dad, and my mom always told me, says, you wear an earring home, I'm going to rip that thing out of your ear. And she said it in a way that scared me half enough that I knew if I even wanted to try it, what was going to happen, and I didn't. Okay, well, that was just my raising. But, I personally think a lot of this tattoos, some of this lies in the realm of personal judgment. Now, I do think that as you go along and you grow and you mature, all right, some of these habits and practices are going to change as you go through life, okay? And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I take it back to, whenever I was first learning, I had all the questions. You have to ask yourself, is it sinful? That's the question for whatever the issue is. Is it sinful? Is it and if it is, show me. I had a conversation with a woman years ago, but we were talking about tattoos, And she said, well, it's a sin to have a tattoo. I was like, can you point me to that? She said, well, yes, in 1 Corinthians 6. I said, verse 19. She said, yeah. I said, where Paul says the body is a temple? She goes, exactly. This is the temple of the Lord. I'm like, do you know what that passage is referring to? And she said, well, the body's a temple. I was like, have you read the whole thing? And she said, well, what does it say? I said, he's referring to sexual immorality. That entire passage is about sexual immorality, and he even says that the only sin that one commits against his own body is sexual immorality. I was like, so he's not talking about, he never mentions tattoos there. Well, I've been told my whole life it's tattoos. I'm like, well, you've been told wrong. I was like, you probably should go and read that and understand it. She goes, well, I still think it's wrong. I'm like, well, you can have that opinion, but the Bible doesn't condemn tattoos in 1 Corinthians 6. I said there's plenty of a dialogue about it in the Old Testament, and there was a reason for that,
Yeah.
right? But that's not something that carried over
Right.
into New Testament time. I said, nor do I believe it carries over now. I said, now I've got them, and I could make from a personal experience standpoint, it's probably not wise, but that's just my experience. I'm not going to make that call for someone else. That's me talking for me. So when it comes to hair or piercings or tattoos, what does the Bible say about it? And is there anything that carries over into the year 2026 that is implicated in Scripture that says, yes, this matters? If it matters, then as Christians, we should wholeheartedly welcome it into our lives as a new practice. If there is no statement about it, well, then use your judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing that I've just sort of been listening to and heard as we've gone through this conversation is, especially with Keith, there was a desire to be seen.
Yes.
When you first walked in the church.
Yes.
It was a desire to be heard. And I think that's a scriptural basis when you think about what Jesus did everywhere he went. Think about the woman with the hemorrhage there in Mark chapter 5. She was one who just wanted to be healed. And if you remember, you've got a man who has come to Jesus after he got off the boat saying that his daughter has died, and that's where they're going.
Yeah.
And as they're on the way there, a woman reaches out and touches his cloak to heal herself. She had enough faith, first of all, to do that.
Yeah.
But you have Jesus, who he just completely stops to figure out who it is that had that faith to reach out and touch. And he stops.
Yeah.
It showed that he cared about an individual who had faith.
Well, he allowed himself to be interrupted. You know what I mean? I think that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that nobody was busier than Jesus, right? And yet he allowed himself to be interrupted time and time again because it wasn't about the urgency of what he was doing. It was about his mission. And the mission was people, and I think you're exactly right. One of the things I love about that story is that she's a lawbreaker, right? According to Levitical law, she shouldn't even be in public. And here she is not only in public, she shouldn't be touching people. Here she is pushing her way through the crowd. You know, and so when Jesus turns, she knows that he has the right to condemn her, and yet he calls her daughter. And I think that's her being seen. Probably the first time she's been called that in a long time, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And what does that do? You know, what does that do for her in that moment? Aside from healing her illness, he heals her soul, calls her daughter, sees her, validates her, tells her that she's clean. You're not dirty. You're clean. Your faith has made you well. That'll preach. Somebody write that down. But that's the whole thing is that when new people are coming in, you just nailed it. That's exactly right. When people are coming in, they are apprehensive because they're going to be seen, but there's a desire to be seen. You know what I mean? And so that kind of presents a dichotomy that we have to be aware of. You know, that when people come in, there's a lot going on inside them.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot going on. There's some excitement, but there's fear. Or when you have excitement and fear and you put those two together, what does that create? Anxiety, right? So we have to be aware that they're coming in with all this. They're coming in with a whole lifetime of baggage. We have to help them unpack that. You know, you get them here, you get them to meet Jesus, and then our job is to help them unpack all those bags.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest things that we can do over time, and you're not going to do this in 5 minutes, but if you can make the right connection in that 5 minutes and have them where they're able to come back and be here again and again and again, is to try to show them this is what Jesus did for me. This is who I was. This is who I am now. And this has been a process for me. I didn't learn it all overnight. I didn't change all overnight, but God has worked through me.
Yeah.
And everything goes back to Jesus. Everything. All our conversations need to go back to Him, and that transformation that He has begun in us, and really, I think, show people that, hey, this is possible. This is real, and you may think you're too far gone,
Nobody's too far gone.
but you're not.
The other thing that I loved about what Keith had said, when you had that brother that came to you about the ear piercings, and he asked questions.
Yeah.
He didn't make statements.
He was curious.
He was curious.
Yeah.
He was interested. And those questions showed that he was interested because
Yeah.
he took an interest in you. That's a scriptural thing as well.
And he didn't make a statement about me.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's typically what happens is we just make statements about people. But he wanted to know why. So what's the deal with that? Tell me the story. You know, I mean, there was an inquiry about me, not about the piercing or the hair. It was about me.
Yeah, so
What's driving that? What created that?
Yeah.
What's the reason for that? Why do you do that?
yeah, so instead of assuming that, this guy just wants to come in and look ghetto, how do we not know that he put on his best jewelry because he's trying to be respectful to God?
Right.
I think what we have to do is realize this starts with a pricked heart, right, in Acts chapter 2. And that means, the heart has been touched, it has been changed, and so the motivation has been changed. So whereas somebody may have been living a life that they wanted to be noticed, wanted to be in the spotlight, now they're living a life with a different drive. And it still takes time. And this is where we've got to come in with talking about each other's patience, because we're impatient with each other. And I know you work with a lot of people who are brand new in the church. How many of them say, I always thought the church would judge me. Well, we earned that.
And it's because we try to assert our ideologies, our beliefs by making statements instead of asking questions. I think about God in the garden. Where are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
that's great.
When
Yeah.
Cain killed Abel, where's your brother?
Yeah.
Every single time, God knew what the answer was in both
Yeah.
of those cases, but he asked questions to get honest truth out of somebody.
In one of my sermons today, I'm going to talk about the fact that God asked Eve, "Who told you you were naked?" How did you come to that? Who told you that? Mm-hmm. And I think, you make a great point. That there's Jesus always asked questions. He knew the answers, but he always asked questions with the intent of teaching you something.
I like the question that he asked after his resurrection, and he's on the road, and these two men are sitting there talking about this resurrected Jesus, and they don't recognize who he is. And they walk up to Jesus and say, "Have you not heard what's happened?"
What things?
Exactly. What things?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And he wanted them to tell him the gospel.
Yeah.
Well, I think, all of this works together, and it's so cool. Okay, so yesterday we had our Spark Day with the young kids. We had 52 kids here yesterday from all over Southwest Ohio and Northern Kentucky. And the theme was on the armor of God. And it was so cool yesterday afternoon to watch all those kids here in our building and learning about God, and the excitement and the laughter and just all the energy that they produce. And Jason and I were talking yesterday afternoon about how they really tapped into what the teachers were talking about. And then your lessons this morning, I think, really are going to be impactful because based on there's no plan here. It just,
We had no plan, and so when Jason was showing me what y'all did yesterday, I was like, okay, this is funny, not funny. My lessons this morning. During the class period time, the lesson is on anxiety and algorithms, talking about, we tap into social media, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a tool, but we can make it a bad thing, and we let those algorithms feed our anxieties by receiving so much information, and so much information that's not correct, But then the second lesson is the lies we believe, and the lies that we believe usually come in the form of our own voice, and where those things come from. But he was talking about, the sword, about the sword of truth and the breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of salvation and all these things. Those things play into, into that inner monologue. And the thing is that we often depend on how that's been shaped. whether it's by social media or by outside sources or by news networks,
Yeah.
we will say things to ourselves that we would never let somebody else say to us.
Yeah.
And so you have to know who that is talking. That when that voice is active, and because that's what Jason was showing me, the lies that people believe, and they're shooting darts at it or whatever. That's exactly the thing, is that we say things to ourselves I would never let somebody say to me, but because it's my voice, I believe it.
Yeah.
But where does that voice come from? Where does that information come from? Who shapes and who molds that? If I'm not listening to God, I am necessarily listening to somebody.
Yeah.
That's physics, right? If one thing is moving this way, then this thing is automatically moving that way. So if I'm not listening to God, I'm listening to somebody, and that's gonna shape all that.
Well, we certainly want to invite you to come out and be with us here at Cornerstone this morning. If you're here in Southwest Ohio, we start at 9:30 today, 5051 Wilmington Pike. If you are not in this area, you can obviously watch us online, cornerstone-coc.com, or on all these platforms that we are broadcasting to this morning. Again, that's going to start at 9:30 Eastern Time. Our worship today will be at 10:30. We want you to be a part of us today. Thanks to all of you. I've been following all three platforms, kind of following the discussion this morning. Thanks to all of you who have tuned in and commented. We certainly appreciate that. And maybe some of you we can talk to later about some of the things that were mentioned. And we want to help you and encourage you and just be here for you. So thank you for watching today. Keith, you're also going to be here Tuesday night for our summer series that starts at 7 o'clock. That'll be broadcast online, but we hope you can join us as well here at Cornerstone.
Thank y'all.
So, guys, any last words before we wrap up for the day? Thank you all. Tunner, thank you. Jason, Keith. And we will see you again next Sunday morning. God bless everybody.
We will praise and lift you high, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Elyon Adonai. Age to age, you're still the same by the power of the name, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Elkamkana Adonai. We will praise and lift you high, El Shaddai. I will praise you till I die, El Shaddai. By Christ redeemed, in Christ restored, we keep the memory adored, and show the death of our dear Lord, until he come. His body broken in our stead is here in this memorial bread, and so our feeble love is fed until he come. His fearful drops of agony, his lifeblood shed for us we see. The wine shall tell the mystery until he come. And thus that dark betrayal night, with the last advent we unite, by one blessed chain of loving right, until he come. Oh, blessed hope with this elate, let not your hearts be desolate, but strong in faith, in patience wait, until he come. O Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary,